You've been counting down the days, haven't you? That magical number, 65, when you can finally hang up your work boots, say goodbye to the daily grind, and spend your golden years exactly how you want. It's the dream we've all been sold. Work hard for decades, then enjoy a long, relaxing retirement. But what if I told you that retiring at 65 could actually be one of the worst decisions you'll ever make? Now, before you think I'm trying to rob you of your well-earned rest, hear me out. This isn't about working yourself to the bone forever. It's about something much more important: your health, your happiness, and making the most of this incredible chapter of your life. Because the truth is, for many people, retirement at 65 doesn't bring the fulfillment they expected. In fact, it often leads to unexpected problems that nobody talks about. Let me share something eye-opening. Researchers at Oregon State University studied thousands of retirees and found something shocking. People who retired at 65 had an asterisk 15% higher risk of death than those who worked just one more year. And that risk kept going down the longer people delayed retirement. Why? Because work, when it's the right kind, gives us something fundamental that leisure alone can't provide: purpose. That brings me to the first big reason why retiring at 65 might be a mistake. Your brain needs meaningful challenges to stay sharp. Think about it. For most of your life, your job has given you problems to solve, people to interact with, new skills to learn. Suddenly removing all that stimulation is like taking a fish out of water. Neurologists have found that without regular mental challenges, our brains can start to decline much faster. One study from the Alzheimer's Research Center showed that people who retired earlier showed signs of cognitive decline up to 40% faster than those who kept working in some capacity. Now, I'm not saying you need to keep your high-stress, 60-hour-a-week job, but consider this. What if instead of full retirement, you transition to something part-time? Maybe consulting in your field, mentoring younger workers, or even starting that small business you've always dreamed about. The key is finding work that feels less like obligation and more like opportunity. This leads perfectly into the second reason. Retirement often leads to social isolation, and loneliness can be deadly. When you leave your job, you don't just lose a paycheck, you lose daily interactions with colleagues, the sense of being part of a team, the casual conversations by the coffee machine. For many people, especially men, work is their primary social outlet. The Harvard study of adult development, one of the longest-running happiness studies in history, found that loneliness is as damaging to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. I'll never forget what my friend Jim told me after he retired. After 6 months, he said, I realized I was seeing more of my TV than my friends. That's when he started volunteering at the local community college, helping students with their resumes. Suddenly, he had people relying on him again, asking for his advice, valuing his experience. It gave him a reason to get dressed in the morning, and that made all the difference. And this brings us to our third point. Many people discover that endless leisure isn't as fulfilling as they imagined. We've been conditioned to think of retirement as one long vacation, sleeping in, playing golf, traveling whenever we want. But here's the surprising truth. Too much free time can actually make us miserable. Psychologists call it leisure sickness, that restless, unsatisfied feeling that comes when we have nothing meaningful to do. A fascinating study from the University of California tracked retirees and found that after about 18 months of full retirement, most people's happiness levels started to decline sharply. Why? Because humans thrive on growth and contribution. We need to feel useful, to feel like we're making a difference. As one retired teacher told me, I thought I'd love having all the time in the world, but after a while, all the days started blending together. I missed feeling like I mattered. Now we've covered 3 crucial reasons so far: keeping your brain sharp, maintaining social connections, and finding meaningful ways to spend your time. But there's more to this story, and in the next part, we'll explore the financial realities of retiring at 65, how it affects your physical health, and most importantly, what better alternatives exist for this stage of your life. Because here's what I really want you to know: this isn't about working forever. It's about designing a life after 65 that's truly fulfilling on your own terms. You know, when we talk about retirement, most conversations jump straight to the financial side. Do you have enough saved up? Can your nest egg last 20 or 30 years? And while that's important, we'll get to that in a minute, there's something even more valuable at stake, your vitality. Because here's the uncomfortable truth nobody tells you. Retiring too early can accelerate aging in ways that have nothing to do with money. Let me explain with our fourth reason. Your body deteriorates faster without purpose-driven activity. Think about your typical workday. Even if you have a desk job, you're still moving more than you realize. Walking to meetings, running errands on your lunch break, maybe even just fidgeting at your desk. But when retirement hits, many people slip into what gerontologists call the sitting disease. One study from the University of Sydney found that retirees experience a 50% increase in sedentary behavior within just 2 years of leaving work. And here's what's scary. Prolonged sitting has been linked to higher risks of heart disease, diabetes, and even certain cancers. But it's not just about physical movement, it's about having a reason to move. My neighbor Linda retired at 65 from her nursing job, and within a year she noticed her balance getting worse and her energy plummeting. Then she started helping out at a local animal shelter 3 days a week. Suddenly she was on her feet, walking dogs, cleaning cages, and guess what? Her blood pressure improved, her arthritis pain decreased, and she told me, "I feel 10 years younger." That's the power of purposeful activity. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, money. Because here's our fifth reason. Retiring at 65 could leave you financially vulnerable for decades. We're living longer than ever before. If you retire at 65, there's a very real chance you'll need your savings to last 30 years or more. And inflation, it's like a silent thief stealing your purchasing power year after year. Consider this eye-opening math. If you have $500,000 saved, which sounds like a lot, and you withdraw the commonly recommended 4% per year, that's just $20,000 annually before taxes. Add Social Security, and maybe you're at $40,000.50,000 a year. Can you really maintain your lifestyle on that for potentially 3 decades? Especially when unexpected expenses hit. A new roof, helping a grandchild with college, medical bills not covered by Medicare. But here's what's even more concerning. Most people dramatically underestimate their retirement expenses. A Fidelity study found that nearly 70% of retirees spend more in their first 2 years of retirement than they did while working. Why? Because suddenly you have time to travel, time to shop, time to take up new hobbies. And all that time costs money. This brings me to our sixth reason, one that might surprise you. Continuing to work, even part-time, can actually make you richer in ways that have nothing to do with money. I'm talking about what economists call social capital, the value of your connections, your knowledge, your reputation in your community. When you retire completely, that social capital starts fading fast. But if you stay engaged, even just consulting 10 hours a week or mentoring in your field, you maintain access to opportunities that can pay off in unexpected ways. Take my friend Carl, a retired engineer. He started teaching 2 classes a week at the local community college. Not only did it bring in extra income, but one of his students introduced him to a startup that eventually brought him on as an advisor with equity. That side gig turned into his most lucrative retirement income. The lesson: when you stay in the game, even just a little, opportunities find you. Now we've covered 3 more crucial pieces of the puzzle: how retirement affects your physical health, the financial realities nobody talks about, and the hidden value of staying professionally connected. But there's one final, transformative insight to share about why the traditional retirement model might be completely wrong for today's 65-year-olds. In the next part, we'll explore what a truly fulfilling post-career life could look like, one that gives you freedom without sacrificing what makes life worth living. Because here's the truth, You've worked too hard to spend your golden years just passing time. You deserve better, and I can't wait to show you how. Let me ask you something. When you picture retirement, what do you see? Endless golf games, lounging on a beach, maybe puttering around the house. Here's the hard truth. That version of retirement was designed for a generation that didn't expect to live past 75. Today, with medical advances and healthier lifestyles, you could easily have 25 or 30 more vibrant years ahead of you. That's not just retirement, that's an entire second adulthood. This brings us to our seventh and most important reason. The traditional retirement model is obsolete, and clinging to it could rob you of your most fulfilling years. Think about it. We've been conditioned to see life as a straight line: learn, work, retire, decline. But what if life after 65 could be more like a spiral, where you take everything you've learned and use it in new, exciting ways? I want to introduce you to the concept of asterisk, regeneration instead of retirement. This isn't about working until you drop. It's about redesigning your life so that work, leisure, and purpose exist in perfect balance. Take Maria, a former school principal who retired at 65 only to launch a literacy nonprofit at 68. Or Frank, a retired mechanic who started teaching auto repair to at-risk teens 3 afternoons a week. These people aren't just staying busy, they're thriving in ways their working selves never imagined. Now let's talk about how to do this right. First, consider the power of mini retirements. Instead of one dramatic exit, why not take several shorter breaks to explore what lights you up? A former client of mine took 6 months off at 65 to travel, then returned to his architecture firm part-time as a consultant. At 70, he took another sabbatical to write a book. This approach lets you test drive retirement while keeping your options open. Second, and this is crucial, find your encore purpose. Researchers at Stanford discovered that people who identified a meaningful post-career mission were significantly happier and healthier than traditional retirees. This doesn't have to be another job. It could be mentoring, volunteering, or finally pursuing that creative project you've put off for decades. The key is to ask yourself, what impact do I still want to make? Here's something remarkable. Studies show that people with strong purpose live longer. Not just a little longer, up to 7 years longer. The famous Rush Memory and Aging Project found that seniors with clear purpose had roughly half the risk of Alzheimer's compared to those who felt aimless. Your mind and body literally fight to keep you alive when they believe you still have important work to do. Now let's address the practicalities. If you're convinced that full retirement at 65 might not be right for you, here's how to transition wisely, 1. Redefine work on your terms. Could you freelance, consult, turn your expertise into a community class? 2. Protect your time freedom. Set clear boundaries so you're working because you want to, not because you have to. 3. Invest in your next chapter. Use some of your current income to prepare for your encore career or passion project. I'll leave you with this thought. At 65, you're not done, you're seasoned. You have more wisdom, patience, and perspective than ever before. Why let society tell you it's time to step aside when you're perfectly positioned to make your greatest contributions? So here's my challenge to you today. Don't retire from something, retire to something. Whether it's that small business idea you've been nursing, mentoring young people in your field, or finally writing your family's history, your next chapter could be your most meaningful yet. I'd love to hear in the comments, what's your vision for a purposeful life after 65? Are you considering an encore career, or have you found creative ways to stay engaged that others could learn from? If this conversation resonated with you, do me a favor, hit that like button, share it with a friend who's wrestling with these same questions, and subscribe for more honest talks about thriving in your prime years. Because here's the truth, retirement isn't about stopping. It's about starting the life you were always meant to live, on your terms, with your wisdom, and with all the joy you've earned.